Hey everyone, I want to make a statement, but before I do, I want you to notice how the statement makes you feel. You ready for it? Being single is a huge blessing. So, did some of you guys feel like, I don't really feel that way at all? Or maybe there was a part of you that was like, you know what, you're right. I love being single. The truth is, there's probably people in your group right now that are on both sides of that extreme. As a Christian single, it's easy to feel like you're in a state of limbo. Society, as well as family and friends, often pressure you to make you feel like you need to get married. Even the local church unintentionally alienates you by focusing their programming specifically for married members, which only adds to the frustration, leaving you with an even greater sense of unfulfillment. Some of you never dreamed that you would find yourself single again or unmarried in this stage of your life. Let me say, embrace where God has you right now. Use this season not to focus on what you don't have, but to focus on your relationship with God and your relationship with other believers. To put it another way, stop wasting your time and start investing it. Hey, I have a secret for you. Lean in. Being single is not a curse. It is a blessing. God has a plan and a purpose for your season of singleness that is beyond your wildest dreams. One of the greatest joys of being a Christian single is being able to serve the Lord in whatever capacity He calls you to. You are not bound by the desires or the needs that you have with a spouse or the responsibility of a family. You can dedicate your energy and your time to ministry or missions or whatever the Lord is telling you to do. If God tells you to write a check for $5,000 to your church, you do it. You don't have to tell Him to convince your spouse. If God tells you to serve in a remote village in Africa, you do it. If God tells you to serve your church by volunteering in the nursery, you do it. You don't have to convince anyone else. The amount of freedom that a Christian single has is way more than someone who's married. Paul says it like this. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 32 through 35, he says, I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife. And his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. I am saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. Do you hear how Paul writes that? The undivided devotion. But here's the kicker. The truth is, some of you who are single are living in a divided devotion to the Lord. You may not be married, but your devotion is to something other than the Lord. For many Christian singles, the pursuit of finding a spouse can take them to unholy and unhealthy environment. They can be more devoted to finding a spouse than they are to the Lord. My brothers and sisters, I love you, but that cannot be so. The question is, are you wasting your time trying to find Mr. Right or Mrs. Perfect? Or are you investing it for God's kingdom? As a single person, you have the ability to fully embrace your identity in Christ. You can cultivate a loving and deep relationship with God in this season of your life. You can use your singleness as an opportunity to strengthen your community and invest in meaningful relationships with other Christians. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 through 25 says, And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. This is why Echo Ministries exists. You may be single, but you are not alone. You may be single, but this is definitely not a handicap. So step into the fullness of life and where God has you placed right now. It's important for you to remember that God has a plan and a purpose for your life, regardless of your relationship status. That's why I love Jeremiah 29:11. It's one of my favorite verses, and some of you can probably quote it. It's a promise that applies to all of us and should give us great confidence and security in God's sovereignty. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Lastly, if you find yourself single again or never married, walk in the fullness of that blessing. Serve Him with undivided devotion and stop wasting your time. Now is the time to serve willfully and lovingly with full assurance that God is with you. God bless you guys. Take care.